Origin Homes is UX, and this is why didn't Vichy France join the Axis? Vichy? Vichy, I guess. Short animated documentary by the channel History Matters. When France fell to Germany and Italy, if you're feeling generous, it mostly became a client state of Berlin. Despite this, France never tried to join the Axis to fight the Allies, so why not? Why would France join the Axis to fight the Allies? Weren't they trying to fight the Axis? Vichy France. Oh god, I don't know why it took me a second to think about that. The other part of the France that was not occupied by Germany directly, but it was like a puppet state, right? Oh, it makes sense because the German occupied France. They kind of was in guerrilla warfare, trying to fight the Axis, right? Through the help of, I guess, Britain at the time. So the Vichy, why would they fight since they are the puppet state of the Axis? Why would they fight alongside the Axis? Because I guess Hitler won't trust them because they are still France, right? They just fell. Now they're gonna fight. What is this? A video game, right? You take over some place and Sunday those soldiers are yours. That's like no, the loyalty and things. I guess that could be the reason. But yeah, it's going to be fun. If there is more complex answer than that, I highly doubt it, but I guess we'll see. That's what it.
After France was defeated in the Second World War, the armistice dictated that the north of it was to be garrisoned by German soldiers, whereas the south was allowed to remain unoccupied. This part of France is known as Vichy France due to it being run from said town, and it was a German puppet state in all but name. But despite its leaders acting in German interests, Vichy France never joined the Axis to fight the Allies in a more formal sense. So why not? Why didn't Vichy France join the Axis? So as of the fall of France, President Albert Lebrun gave absolute power to his recently appointed Prime Minister Philippe Pétain, and this was to allow him to write a new constitution. Pétain dissolved the French Parliament and made himself head of state. Legally, Pétain's government had control over all of France. In reality though, its authority stretched only throughout the non-occupied zone. His government had to relocate from Paris to Vichy here because it had the best postal and telephone facilities outside of the capital. As Pétain was attempting to write a new French constitution after its defeat, Britain was worried. France had withdrawn from both the war and the Allies and now sat as a neutral, if occupied state. The British were concerned that the French fleet would fall into German hands, and so they demanded custody of it for themselves. The French said no, and so the British calmly dropped the subject, and some bombs, on the French fleet. The French responded by bombing Gibraltar.
Alright. France, give me your ships. Otherwise Hitler will have them. Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay, we're going to take chance with that. Yeah, I think our rivalry goes much back than that. I'd rather give this to anyone but you, Britain. And they're like, alright, we'll bomb you, I guess.
And it would seem then that the two were at war. But France never made any declarations, nor did it try to join the Axis. And there were several important reasons why. The first was that Pétain didn't believe that France was ready to join the conflict on either side. The second reason was that Pétain enjoyed international recognition as the legitimate ruler of France, with some exceptions, and joining the war would see this revoked by some. It also meant that the French people in both France itself and the colonies wouldn't have to pick a side, since many weren't too happy about the German occupation, but there was also a very strong anti-British sentiment amongst the French people, and Pétain didn't want to test which of these was stronger. The third reason was that the Axis didn't really want France to join. The German government didn't feel that France would fare too well in an all-out war, and importantly they didn't want to risk having to divert troops to help in Africa. It wasn't just Germany though that didn't want France on the team. The Italian government had been eyeing up French territory for a long time, and even a rump France on side could have prevented Italy from realising its ambitions. And across the world, Japan wasn't a fan of France either. Its ideological justification for its conflict with the West was freeing Asia from European colonialism, and France held these lands that Japan wanted.
So basically everybody hated France, is that it? Even the people in Axis, right? Japan hates it, Italy hates it, Britain obviously hates it. Britain kind of hates it, but if they profit from it, I guess they'll be fine. Okay, I guess the core will always be there. First of all, Vichy France is the only control part from the French government. Let's be honest. Only reason why that's the case is like Hitler didn't want to control that area, right? Otherwise, it's up to Hitler, right? Yeah, the France government is just like a formality at that point because they surrender. What are they going to do, right? So if Hitler says something, they're going to do it. So they're like kind of the government. So if they join Axis, first of all, French people has to join the Axis. The Prime Minister cannot just say we are joining the war with Germany. I guess the unrest would go even higher, right? I'm pretty sure Hitler didn't want to push that. Like, okay, France has surrendered, but let's not push them too much over the edge because people would go crazy by that point. And yeah, like everybody else didn't want that as well. Italy clearly wanted land. If France actually joins and Axis wins, France is gonna gain land rather than losing it. So it kind of makes sense.
That said, the debate didn't last too long, since in late 1942, fearing that Vichy France would either join the Allies or fall to them, the German and Italian militaries invaded and put an end to its existence, thereby ending the short and technically neutral existence of Vichy France. I hope you enjoyed this episode, with a special thanks to my patrons, James Bisonet, Kelly Money.
That is interesting. They did do that, right? They did took over the entire place. But yeah, I think even if all the conditions would have been right, I don't think Hitler would have ever not ever. By the end, I think Hitler was desperate. He would have okay, fine, France it is. But I don't think his problem was much of manpower or anything, but most of resources. So I don't think he would have ever taken France into Axis, just because he would. I mean, they would break you from inside. That fear would always be there. So yeah, you can't just defeat. You can't just make somebody surrender and suddenly okay, you're not part of my army. I mean, it takes time. You could do that, but it takes time, right? Not directly. All right. Well, that was wherein Vichy France joined the Axis by the channel History Matters. This was a good video, or another World War videos, I guess. There will never be an end to World War videos. That's the one thing I realized. It's been what, I guess 2+ years now since I started this channel, and from the start I always find some World War video here and there, and there's always something new. World War was so effed up in a way, and so much things happened during the World Wars. There's always going to be a World War video about something here and there, right? I won't be surprised if we uncover more secrets, or how sometimes certain time period is there for certain secrets. When that time period expires, the secrets gets revealed. I won't surprise if more detail comes out of World War in the future, like World War II. This happened, right? Hitler was thinking this, right? Britain and allies were desperate and they had this plan or whatever, but nobody knew. But now we can reveal it or whatever. That could happen. I don't know. World War I, World War II. World War II, I mean, was really as humongous scale. But what people don't realize is World War I was really fucked up, but World War II, the scale was even ridiculous compared to World War I. And they, this kind of linear thinking, people think that World War III, we are done if that happens. Right, well, that was wherein Vichy France joined the Axis by the channel History Matters. If you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe. Check out the Rick Sunday this season, and yeah, I'll see you next time.